I'd like to introduce to you a band that you know and love. Come to you like the sound of equipment being thrown from a moving van, the sound of dead cell phones and oil rigs, the sound of empty parking lots and school buses. They love to live and live to love. Ladies and gentlemen, Jesus Children of America, the White Stripes.
Hello. Come on in. The water's great. My name is Ryan Schaap, and this is the hardest podcast to podcast. A podcast celebrating the White Stripes' entire musical catalog, one song per episode, and one song at a time. And a personal favorite song of mine is coming up this week. I'm Bound to Pack It Up, an outstanding track off Stijl. If you've been with this show, you know that I've hummed and hawed between pronouncing it Stijl or de Stijl, the Dutch-sounding way. I've decided we're going to Stijl here on out, so it's de Stijl. What's going on with my collar here? How's everybody doing? You got power? You got electricity? You snowed out, iced out? I hope everybody's doing okay. Hope everybody's comfortable enough that they can enjoy this show. A couple of bits of housekeeping here. We talk about it in the interview, but I got to give an amazing shout out to our loyal listener, Keith in Minnesota. Anybody from Minnesota that's fighting the good fight is good in my books. He, I don't know how, don't know why, but he had an extra copy of the Jack White collected lyrics and selected writings. I don't know if it was a shipping error or what, but he asked me if I had it. Oh, look at that. Look at that blue book. That's very sharp. My White Stripes one here does not have that. It's white, although that is one of their colors, et cetera, et cetera. So he asked me if I had one, and I said, no, I didn't get an opportunity to try to get one of the signed ones. And he goes, well, guess what? I got one. I'd like to send you one. So for the first time in my 24 years of White Stripes fandom, I have a Jack White autograph, and also with my email buddy, Mr. Ben Blackwell. This book is number 458. Anything significant with 458? No. So thank you so much, Keith. He's also a Patreon backer. Just an insanely generous soul. Over on the Hardest Podcast to Podcast Patreon, still our debut bonus episode is out, which is myself reviewing the controversial Nobody Knows How to Talk to Children concert and documentary from 2002, the one that was banned from being shared, mainly because the filmmaker went against the permissions of the band. So very good conversation. Good conversation. I talked myself. It's a monologue. That's not a conversation. So no, that is a bad conversation because there is only one person speaking. So if you've ever found yourself in a good conversation with one person speaking, it is not that. One thing I forgot to say that I've kind of overlooked about this this project is the Aluminum Project. Basically, Aluminum is the name of a music project based upon orchestral reworkings of the music written by the White Stripes. Its members are Richard Russell and Joby Talbot. Now, Joby Talbot is an interesting one because I've reached out to them to come on this show before, but they did not get back to me, and I had no idea that Joby was involved with this. Jack White endorsed the project. The album was recorded between August 05 and Feb 06 in London, England. Joby and Richard did orchestral arrangements for Aluminum, a song that we've done. I'm Bound to Pack It Up, a song that we're doing this week. Why Can't You Be Nicer to Me? Astro, a song that we've done. Never Far Away, great track. Little Bird, Let's Build a Home, which is also one we've done. The two episodes we've done with our friend Dan Saracini, Astro and Let's Build a Home, both appeared on this Aluminum project. Who's a Big Baby? Last week's episode with Brett is on here, which is even weirder orchestral, in an orchestral version. Hardest Button to Button is on here, and Forever Is Her Is Over For Me is on here. So I'd completely forgotten about the aluminum project. It also happened 20 years ago, so it's easy to forget. But it provides a neat little insight into the songs that we cover and how the White Stripes music can affect people and how it can inspire people, positively affect people. During the conversation, he brought up an interesting note that today, February 2nd, 2025, is the 15th anniversary of the White Stripes officially calling it quits. Of course, the tour ended in July of 2007, and there were a couple of projects here and there sprinkled about, but it wasn't until this day in February in 2011 that they announced that the band was no more, and Jack's gone on to say it's more specifically about him on the verge of having a solo record and kind of wanting to not have White Stripes lore or questions interfere and not give hope or whatever you want to say. He didn't want the two confused. On this date, 15 years ago, the White Stripes said, the White Stripes would like to announce that today, February 2nd, 2011, their band has officially ended and will make no further recordings or perform live. The reason is not due to artistic differences or lack of wanting to continue, nor any health issues, as both Meg and Jack are feeling fine and in good health. It's for a myriad of reasons, but mostly to preserve what is beautiful and special about the band and have it stay that way. Meg and Jack want to thank every one of their fans and admirers for the incredible support they have given throughout the 13 plus years of the White Stripes' intense and incredible career. I think more as time goes by and I learn more about the band's more detailed history, the word intense is an understated word in that statement. There was just two people. There was, which made performing so much more intense and so much more challenging. And, you had a married couple who realized they were creating amazing music and had a great art project and toughed it out as, to continue a band while, behind the scenes that they were having to come to terms with very big changes in their life. Third Man Records will continue to put out unreleased live and studio recordings from the White Stripes in their Vault subscription club, as well as through regular channels. Now, that's true. Both Meg and Jack hope this decision isn't met with sorrow by their fans, but that it is seen as a positive move done out of respect for the art and the music that the band has created. It is also done with the utmost respect to those fans who've shared in those creations, with their feelings considered greatly. With that in mind, the band has this to say. The White Stripes do not belong to Jack and Meg anymore. The White Stripes belong to you now, and you can do with it whatever you want, like start a podcast. The beauty of art and music is that it can last forever if people want it to, through a podcast. Thank you for sharing this experience. Your involvement will never be lost on us, and we are truly grateful. Sincerely, Meg and Jack White, the White Stripes. I can remember when that statement was released in February of 2011. I think I was still relatively young. I would have just turned 23. And for a band that, you obsess over in no uncertain terms, just really laser focused on, I think if you're unable to come to terms with this band ending or this time of your life ending or whatever, I don't think you do come to terms with it. So I don't think, I think when this came out, I just probably buried it and just said, okay, we already knew that. All right, fine. You're not a band anymore. Okay, whatever. Move on. So I'd be curious. I'd be curious how people responded in 2011 to the band announcing their, ending it. I'd be curious how it affected you, because this was several years, a couple of years after inactivity. You had a couple little projects here and there, but for the most part, you kind of knew. The writing was on the wall. But yeah, let me know what you thought of this. You can send me an email at Ryan at hardestpod2pod, or you can DM me on social media. We are everywhere we need to be at hardestpod2pod. And if you want to support this show, you can head on over to our newly minted Patreon at patreon.com/hardestpodtopod, where you can check out our review, our conversation of Nobody Knows How to Talk to Children, the at one time banned documentary about the White Stripes. And you can get in to review that bonus content by becoming a monthly supporter of one of the following tiers, either for $5 Canadian a month to be a steady as she goes tier, or if you want to support the show a bit more, you can go become a $20 Canadian a month tier. That is the highball stepper tier. So that is where a lot more bonus content will be coming. The show on the regular feed here will not be impacted or affected in the least bit. You just might have to hear me plug it. So patreon.com/hardestpodtopod. And if you want to support us just as a one-off, buymeacoffee.com/hardestpodtopod. For both projects, every dollar that we get gets invested right back into the show. On that note, it's time for our call to action this week. I want you to stop what you're doing. Literally stop everything. Stop your car. If you're on transit, pull the dinger. Hit pause on this episode. Go to your streaming platform of choice. This week, I will be asking you to listen to a good song. Last week was not the case with our new friend, Brett, from the Vito's. Who's a Big Baby was terrible. This is a great song. This is I'm Bound to Pack It Up. And I want you to go to your streaming platform of choice, find I'm Bound to Pack It Up off of Stijl. We want it to be as fresh in your mind as it was when Jason and I talked about it earlier. So with that being said, here's Jason. Our guest this week has been a fixture on Vancouver's radio scene for over a decade. You can hear him weekdays on Jack FM. He is Jason Manning. Jason, how are you this rainy, dreary morning in Vancouver?
I am good. Happy 15th anniversary of the White Stripes breaking up.
I was going to discuss that or mention that off the top. So
that's a tease. That's a tease.
That's yeah. So that is synergy. I saw that this morning too, and was kind of. I don't want to use the old man term flabbergasted. Let's just say as I get older and older, and I'm sure you are the same way, I was just relieved that number started with a 1 and not a 2 because it feels like a long time ago.
It does feel like a long time ago. And it's when you think about how much Jack White has done in those 15 years, is what maybe is more shocking.
You got 1, 2, 3, 4 solo records. No, you have 6 solo records.
6 solo records, yeah.
You have a Raconteurs album. There might be another Dead Weather album in there.
Yep, there is. Yep.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty wild to put it into perspective. How big of a, on this 15-year anniversary, how big of a White Stripes fan were you at that time in 2011 when they put that ill-fated, that unfortunate message out on their website?
I remember not being surprised, but I remember thinking, I wonder what else is next. That, because I always felt with Jack, number one, Meg wanted to go in a different direction in her life, and I completely respect that, and I love that how she's been respected with her choice.
Totally.
But also right, and then going, okay, well, Jack's got his fingers in other pies here. And it was just when Third Man was opening the storefront, the first storefront, and now he's got the pressing plant and the vault and all these great things. Like the man must have a book of ideas that is, like, if I'm going to coin an old timey term, as fat as the Yellow Pages.
Kids, hit your however it is. Google if that's
Google image. Yeah.
Go find if you're in a big city, go find your Yellow Pages from 1998 and you'll be shocked at what you're about to see.
Yeah.
You know what? This just happened. But I got in the mail, you're talking about a Jack White book. A listener of this show in Minnesota, Keith, he sent me this book. Third Man accidentally sent him 2 of the complete lyrics. It gets better. he was one of the guys that bought one of the lyrics with Jack White's autograph in it with Ben
What?
Blackwell, and he got
What?
2. And this
What?
guy, God bless him, Keith, he's like, "Hey, you got the lyric book yet?" And I'm like, "No, I like don't bother me. I couldn't get I was unable to get one of the autograph ones." He's like, "Yeah, but did you get one?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "Well, I got 2. You want one?" So that just arrived via FedEx from Minnesota, the heartbeat of the United States, and I am blown away because I don't have a Jack White autograph, and I've got a Jack White autograph
Good
today.
for
And
you. Good for you. That's that. You know what? He needs to be made the Order of Canada for sending you that. What
I've
a
already
nice guy. What a nice gift.
Right. I've already put the paperwork in with Prime Minister Carney. I think it's just a matter of days, maybe weeks. It shouldn't be. I think it'll happen.
Maybe you should just send him some maple cookies and a liter of maple syrup as a thank you, because that's what everybody up here drinks.
That's what I had for breakfast, and I'm drinking it. Got an empty can of Diet Coke here. I got a little maple syrup in there. Jason, the last time I saw you, when we first talked, it was in the very origins of this podcast, and it was before you and I went to see Jack White perform at the Commodore on the No Name tour. I've spoke to you briefly since, but what was your main takeaway from seeing an artist like that at that point in his life in that venue performing at that level? Like, how did you leave the Commodore feeling or thinking about Jack White?
I left the first night going, I can't believe I get to do this all over again the next day with Big Sugar opening,
Yeah.
which was special because Jack did the Big Sugar cover the night before,
Yes, he did.
which was delicious. I I'll be honest with you, I thought that it was just so great to watch an artist on all 8, 12, whatever many amount of cylinders cliche you want to use, and clearly having a good time, but doing that amazing thing, which is performing to a crowd and having that crowd in the palm of his hand for the 90 minutes that he played, which was perfect, by the way.
Yeah. I again, I went the first night and ripped it up, and I was like, "Whoa, what a great show." And
Oh,
then the second night was it was the best solo performance I've ever seen, and it narrowly is edged out by the White Stripes playing at Deer Lake Park on the Icky Thump tour, but I left there just with such an appreciation for an artist who, I don't know, in the grand scheme of things, where you got to do something bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger is better, to like take a step back, refine it, and be like, what's the whole point of rock and roll? And it's these punk rock roots. It's playing to the good house, not the big house. And yeah, I left there ears ringing, warm belly full of warm fuzzies of like, this is the guy, and this is how you do it.
it was a clinic for sure, because he comes out, does his 90 minutes. You don't go, well, he didn't play this song. And he was engaged. But when you think about that whole tour, how he would play a bunch of shows and then the next week he'd be on a different continent and he'd rip through a bunch more. Like, he was just like tick crisscrossing the globe, and I really
Totally.
liked how he did that, and I really liked that, to add on to you, the DIY aspect of it. It just felt special.
Couldn't agree more. And as when we talk about the No Name tour and we talk about the song we're doing this week, it was played on that tour. But let's talk about the song we're doing this week, which is "I'm Bound to Pack It Up." When I mentioned to you that we would be doing this song, where did your brain go? Is this a song that you hold in high regard? Is it kind of an unknown, or is it a nice, tasty little treat between two gigantic songs on their 2000 album, "The Still"?
I think it's 2.2 and 3. It's a song that I love, but I forgot about, because you know how it is revisiting records or songs.
Yep.
They're like old friends. And when I listened to it a few times. I just thought, man, this band is so like in the moment when I saw them the first time in
Com-
2000
Commodore.
Commodore, it
Yep.
was who this is really good, right? Like this is good. I really like this. But in the moment, you just think, oh, I'm seeing another band. You did not realize that they were going to be a legendary band.
Yeah.
You knew they were good. They
Mm-hmm.
were top 2%, but it was this, I don't know, when you hear something like that, you're like, Jesus, that was good. Like the riffs are big, the
Yeah.
Zeppelin influence is there, and whatever else he was listening to at the time. But I love how raw it is. He's not overthinking it. They're not overthinking it.
I couldn't agree more. And this there's so many good points you just brought up. One, it's like rediscovering the old friend, because when you've maybe it's when you were still listening on CDs, or it's a little more cumbersome to access music. Like, this is a song that would you have to still in the car, and you hear it a handful of times. But I used to listen to the song a lot, and much like when a band, whether it's Jack White or the White Stripes, when they keep making good music, and they keep making good music people want to hear, it gets bumped down the set list. And unfortunately so. Take any good band that you like that has over 7 or 8 albums, and you're like, oh geez, you only got 2 hours, how can you play everything? I love this song. It's probably the first. So it sits between Apple Blossom and Death Letter on Distill. I'm also doing my best to refer to it as Distill, which is like the Dutch
Yeah.
pronunciation. I've
Yeah.
been a Distill guy as long as
Yeah.
I've been, but I'm turning over a new leaf, Jason. This song, it Apple Blossom is a huge song for them. Death Letter is one of their biggest songs, up there with, in terms of covers, it's up there with Jolene. But this song stood out to me as like, this song is so simplistic, it feels gigantic, and it absolutely paints the picture of his songwriting chops, his lyric chops, how he and just performance in general. I it it was the it's the, whether you want to call it a diving board or a jumping off point. It leads to so much down the road for the White Stripes, and I kind of all really begins here in this, this approach to folk with "I'm Bound to Pack It Up."
Hmm. And it is. The folk thing is an interesting one, right? Because you can really tell that he was a smorgasbord of music at that time too, which, as we age, we sort of find new different kinds of music, but he was clearly ahead of the class, right? Like he was listening to so much different stuff,
Yeah,
whether that was because his parents were older or whatever, other siblings. But there was something going on there in that little distill sessions, that it sounds so good. Like, like don't remaster it. Just leave it as it is.
it's so. I love what you brought up there. So there's a couple things about Distill which is strange, or it's unique. It's the only album that they ever recorded, at up until that point they'd done it in studios. So they went to, the first album was in a studio, White Blood Cells was in a studio. Distill was recorded at Jack's house, which is his old parents' house. And with White Blood Cells and Elephant, they go back to studios, and then with Get Behind Me, Satan, they're back to recording at his house, which is now a cavernous, lovely mansion on the big side of town. But they weren't the biggest fans of recording at home. They thought there was a lot of distractions. The White Stripes in the studio are just like, get it done. They're like, feels like they're a session band in the 60s or something. Like the Minutemen, like in and out, get it done. Um, so there was some inefficiencies, if you will. And with the sound, I love the way it sounds, because it doesn't, it sounds like a White Stripes album. Going into White Blood Cells, Jack was unhappy with how it sounded, and kind of wanted to tidy it up but not perfect it. Listening to this song, is that just, you just yourself said you love the way it sounded. Is this Jack's perfectionist ear, or is there room for improvement on the way Stijl sounds?
Yeah. I mean, could you imagine going into the Third Man vault and hearing how much other stuff that they recorded that has never or will never hear? Because I'm sure they, being at home, they don't have the meter running in a recording studio, so they
Yeah.
can mess around and, you know, I don't know. I'm just hoping there's like a 45-minute jam of Black Dog by Led Zeppelin in there somewhere.
The best I can do for you, maybe you've seen this, but on the Stijl tour, some guy from Australia like falls in love with the band and is like, "Hey, I'll book you a tour down here." They go and play. They come back right before New Year's, and then on their first gig back from in the U.S., they play "Let There Be Rock" and "Dog Eat Dog" by
Oh,
AC/DC with a bass
that
player.
that's amazing.
Oh,
I did not know that. I will go and listen to that today.
it's it's really good.
That is
Uh,
good. Yeah.
so there's a couple other things about this song that's unique. One, there's a musician that is playing on this. There is a guy by the name of Paul Henry Ossy, Ossy. He's playing violin. He also plays an electric violin on Why Can't You Be Nicer to Me? Now, this kind of comes full circle because Paul Henry Ossy played in this obscure kind of prog experimental band called Catalyst with three of Jack's brothers.
Really?
Yes, they would jam up in the attic of the family house. So the music and the production and kind of the approach to creating art has always been around in that house. And when it comes time to record back in that environment, they bring in this multi-instrumented guy, Paul, and he lays down a pretty damn simple violin. What do you think it adds to this song? Because I think it adds this memorable hook that makes it just stand out from
Yeah.
any other Stripes song.
Yes, it sounds awesome. Like whatever in Jack's head, and this is, when that story you just told about the three brothers. I mean, imagine sitting at the dinner table and they're talking about these records and the ideas would be flying around. It's probably like, yeah, hey man, can you come in and cut some violin on this? I'll give you $100 for the session. Like, I bet it's something like that.
Totally.
Right? But it sounds great, and it makes the song sing a little bit more because it just adds something that we weren't expecting.
It gives it so much depth because Meg is outside of playing an occasional bass drum on it. She's sitting there on a shaker. Jack's
Mhm.
playing this riff. When you play guitar, like learning to play guitar in high school, I'm learning all these White Stripes songs, and this one is just a D chord that goes up a few positions. It goes, it starts in the D chord position, goes up a few frets, a few more frets, and a few more frets. And it's like, well, this is the easiest song in the world, but God, it just is like, again, this is the White Stripes. The more simple, the better. But this song, to kind of not to poo-poo folk music or open mic nights at a coffee shop or what have you, but just having that violin in there takes this song that would otherwise be, a song you could busk to or a song that you could play as background noise, turns it into this fully robust song that just becomes so much more memorable.
Mhm. And it's, again, going back to the start of this conversation, them being gone for 15 years now and then looking back at their catalog, you really, like, yeah, there's all the critics that are like, "I told you so." But for us average Joe schmucks, we didn't realize it, and I think it's good that you don't necessarily realize it in the moment. Like, when I saw the White Stripes, I'm like, "These guys are the real deal."
Yeah.
But and you knew it was special what you were seeing, but you didn't realize that they'd be at the like, I never thought I'd see Jack White, Jimmy Page, and The Edge in a documentary.
Yes. You had no idea. You just you're seeing a band like it's art and sports are so vastly different. But like if you're watching minor hockey player or somebody that could, got a lot of potential, and you're like, oh yeah, that's a good hockey player or that's a good athlete, and then they're winning Super Bowls or something. You're like, oh, that's the ceiling there. When you see the White Stripes are up, you're seeing like, this is a good band. They have good songs. Something about them I relate to them. I don't. They seem authentic. They're good. I wish them well. And you're not like, you don't imagine that we'll get to this scope with them.
Never. Like, I remember that year, that quarter, I saw the Strokes at the Commodore on Is This It, the first album,
Oh yeah.
and thinking like, oh, this is something special. But then seeing the White Stripes, there's something special, but they're already going up the elevator.
Yeah.
They just had that thing, that fairy dust. And you know what that is when you go to a concert. Any of us can judge music any way we want. But when we go to something, we go to enough shows, I always believe, you know what good looks like and you know what bad looks like. And when you see a good performance, just like to allude back to the Commodore shows in Vancouver on the No Name tour, we got to see, and I did the Seattle Showbox show. You got to see authenticity up close, sweaty, 90 minutes, bingo, bango, bongo, and you were blown away. I still wear I'm not wearing it today, but I still wear that Jack White shirt I got from the No Name show in Seattle, and people are like, man, I love that guy. And people love him for a lot of reasons.
Yep. And he's we've had a lot of conversations on this show so far of like, is there another band or another artist that kind of invokes this feeling in you or in others, or, a band that you root for or a band that you really believe in? And there are other bands, but I think it's a pretty short list if you ask me, because this is something special.
Yes, it's a very short list, and I think that, when you get to see an up and coming artist, like the guy that gave you that book from Minnesota, the First Ave in Minneapolis, which is like the Commodore,
Totally.
killer room, and you get to see somebody in there. Sometimes it's like, you and I love baseball. You see enough baseball games, you're going to see special things.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, the last special show I saw in a smaller venue was Billy Strings. I actually went, but I went both nights, and I kind of just stood on the floor. I went by myself because I like going to those shows by myself, and I was just in awe. Like, how does this guy play guitar so well? And he's a bluegrass player,
Yep.
but it's full of a bunch of deadheads and people that like rock music. That's over. That's 25 years after the White Stripes.
Mm-hmm.
So the law of averages, there's not, it's not to say, oh, all the music sucks. It's not that. It's just when you see something special, whether it's a club or an arena or whatever, if it's good. It's just like my partner. She loves Harry Styles.
Yeah.
She's gone to see Harry Styles a few times. She's like, Jason, you got to come and see this guy. There's something about him. And I believe her, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to diminish anybody's opinion, but in the pantheon of music, like Jack White, like, we can use the I word, icon. We can use that word. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
He could go in there a couple times the way things are going.
Yeah. And he's not done. That's the thing. He's not done. And he reminds me, again, another Minnesota reference here to your buddy that gave you the book. He reminds me of that kid from Duluth.
What you
Bobby
mean?
Dylan.
Oh,
that kid, Bobby Dylan.
I thought you were going to say
or Hibbing.
Prince.
He's from Hibbing, Minnesota. But he reminds me of Bob Dylan in the way that he came at a time. It was a prolific time. I'm not saying he writes protest songs, but he uses his voice.
Yeah. And Jack's gone. I forget where I read it. In an interview, he basically said, as long as he's alive, he will be writing and recording music.
Yeah.
And that's it's expected out of artists, but it's like, it's what you hope to hear from an artist, because you want that creativity to continue on, as good or as unique or as whatever. If you appreciate an artist, you want to hear how they interpret music at points in their life.
You know what? I agree with you, and I always think of, like, the Rolling Stones, right?
Yeah.
Like, they'll go out on the road, they'll have a couple of new songs. I know a lot of the boomers will go take a pee break, but I'm there going, "This is pretty cool." These guys are, at that time, in their 70s, saw them in Minneapolis, and they were incredible, but they still have something to say, and I think that the reason why Jack or Paul McCartney or the Stones still go out on the road is you've been doing that your whole life.
Yeah.
And the sound of adulation, the crowd, and using your creativity, like it would just be part of your DNA.
Yeah, it's what you know, and like, it's what we're not perfect can be a really bad word, but when you do something for a quarter decade or a half decade, you
Mhm.
perfect it as you go, and it just becomes this laser beam of art and skill and ability, and something that can just you want to share with the masses. So keep
Mhm.
pumping it out, keep being creative. There was a song, I think, lonely on there was a Stone song that I heard, living in a something lonely
Living in a
town.
ghost town, living in a
Heard-
ghost town.
I heard that song when I was doing the Peak to Peak in Whistler. It was playing in one of the, like, one of the cafeterias or whatever. I'm like,
Yeah.
I've never heard this Rolling Stones song
No.
before. It's really good.
And they cashed that one in during COVID and put
That's
it
right.
out. And I remember hearing it and going, you know what? These kids, they know how to rock and they know how to roll.
I was like, "What is this off Tattoo? Is this a B-side off Tattoo
Is it
You or
Yeah,
something?"
like, it's actually crazy when you think about it that, they can, Jagger it would be like us going and, doing 1,000 podcasts. You enjoy doing it, and you wanna keep doing them, but they're doing it in a songwriting sense, and they can still go pack a stadium,
Yeah,
which is bonkers.
it's special.
Yes.
Back to
Yeah.
as we head back to I'm Bound to Pack It Up. Uh, this is a song that, Jack's writing styles can be a little very open to interpretation. Sometimes you don't know what he's writing about. Sometimes you don't know um, how these words kind of make sense together, or what type, like you kind of, well, I don't know if you need a rhyming dictionary or a thesaurus or a history textbook through some of his songwritings. This is a story that he's telling about two individuals that are in a situation that's very easy to relate to and very easy to understand. It's clearly a relationship deteriorating. Um, where what stands out with you reading these lyrics, kind of hearing this song, because it's not hard to put yourself in the situation of either one of these people.
I'm like you, I can't decide what was going on in his head, and none of us can go there, but it just felt as if he was in a creative moment because they're creative lyrics and he gets through the song and you're like, that's a good song.
Yeah,
And see, what I noticed when I heard it the first time was it's not I wasn't listening to the lyrics the first time. I was listening to the music
yeah,
because the music drew me in first before I uh assessed the lyrical content.
yeah. I I'm reading a book. As a fan of this band for seemingly 24 years now, I'd never read a book that came out in about '04 called Fell in Love with the Band. And it's
Mm,
one of the more accurate, from what I can read and decipher, it's a very accurate telling of the band's kind of origin and the history. And because it doesn't really pertain to the art or the process, you know, it's not front, it's kind of taken a rightful backseat. But, Jack and Meg were divorced officially earlier in this year in 2000. According to that certificate, they had not been living together since early '99. And Jack left. And he was couch surfing according to this book. He'll be the first one and the second one and the third one, and I'll be the fourth one to tell you that he doesn't write about people he knows or things he's gone through, and he's not autobiographical. And I don't think this song is about them in the least bit. Do
No.
I think that the experience that he's gone through in the last year, I know things fall apart with your high school sweetheart that you have a really special band with. Do I think that influences you when you're writing poetry or creating art? Yes, I absolutely would. So while I don't think that this is in the least bit about Jack and Meg or Meg and Jack, I think that it's easy to put yourself in a mindset that creates a song like this. And it's from what I have read, from what I can kind of interpolate, it's not really how their relationship ended, but it puts yourself in it paints this really, really powerful picture of they know the relationship is kind of on its last legs. You as well know the relationship is on the last legs. And it's like, who's going to be the bigger person and realize like it's time to go, it's time to end this. And you know, you got the lyric there that you're sorry to leave you alone, sitting silent by the phone. But we'd always known that there would come a day like somebody's got to make the first move for the benefit of both of us. So that lyric really there really kind of hooks me. Like you've been in that spot where you've got to make a tough decision.
Yeah, and you're writing from experience. The guy's writing from experience. But like you were saying, I mean, nothing's autobiographical with him, and I love that everything is shaded in secrecy.
Yeah, and because and there's been countless interviews where Jack has said like, the less we know about our favorite artist, the better. Like obviously, in today's horrible climate, we're not saying like we don't want to know about their evil secrecies, but it's like no, it's like I appreciate the artist is by all accounts they're a good person and you respect them, but like yeah, I don't need to know this. I don't need to know the formula. I don't need to know the secret sauce. I just need to know that like I like the song, I like the art, and the person that's putting it together, like they're pretty damn cool in my books. And that's about all you need.
That's all you need. I don't want to know about your kids. Like it's no, but like it's
I
none of
love
my
it.
because it's none of my business,
Yeah.
right? Like I would never do an interview with an artist and my first question being like, "So, how are the kids?" Right? Like it's about the art. You're talking about the art and the
Yeah.
music. And it's that to me is like such a stupid question anyways, but it's nice that there is that mystery, right? Led Zeppelin, shrouded in mystery. Jack White, shrouded in mystery. Wait, here's another Bob Dylan reference, shrouded in mystery. I don't want to meet Robert Plant. I don't want to meet Bob Dylan. I don't want to meet I don't know like I don't know, like some of the guys in other bands like Keith Richards or Mick Jagger. I don't want to meet them because I love their songs and everybody has a different interpretation and translation to that song, to their life. And that's what makes songwriting special when it goes to the masses. Hence Sicky Thump.
I love that. Going through my other book, which I purchased myself, the White Stripes Complete Lyrics. If you have this, dear listener or viewer, the handwritten lyrics of "I'm Bound to Pack It Up" are in here and they're scanned, and they go from the handwritten lyrics to your working draft of lyrics, which is um, pretty similar. I feel like this song kind of flowed out of him quite easily. And then there was some other lyrics, unused lyric fragments. So there's a very particular kind of rhyming style and structure. It's a little kind of reminds me of the Beatles, but it's got those beats. He's got a couple other ones in here that obviously didn't make the song, and probably good that it didn't. Something about the skin that's wrapped around you now. I'm gonna uh, uh, come out and peel it away or something.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a
yeah,
little gross. That's gross.
Yeah. So, and I also love this. This is for the viewers on YouTube. He's a doodler. We've all been in
Oh,
meetings or, where your brain's wandering, and
yeah.
he's just kind of scratching here on the top of the page, and I quite appreciate that. So
Yeah,
I
I
love,
appreciate that too.
yeah. So this song, again, I feel like it really, when I was listening to it this morning, this song is like a stepping stone to songs like Take, Take, Take off Get Behind Me,
Mhm.
Satan, kind of Same Boy You've Always Known, and even a little bit of 300 Mile Per Hour Torrential Outpour Blues off Icky Thump. Like folk, the general focus of the song, us of the song is a folk approach, and really relying and singing to the strum pattern of the guitars. But it's it's a very it's a catalyst to getting there, and much like Jack White's brothers bands named Catalyst, like I really appreciate the song because I hear so many other songs in it. I hear so many different ways, different avenues that Jack and Meg took in creating their music um, through I'm Bound to Pack It Up.
Yeah, I agree.
Reviews, there's very little about this song. It wasn't a single. Pitchfork, they re-released when they re-released the first album and Distill on major labels. They
Yep.
reviewed it as major labels, and they said they gave it a 9.1 for Distill. And he said the acoustic sweep of I'm Bound to Pack It Up manages to homage the Who, Floyd, the Kinks, and Zepp, not to mention its lofty adherence to the Rambler Wanderer tradition.
I'm glad they didn't. I hope they never. You know how Pitchfork's reassessing stuff.
Yeah,
Like if you were mean the first time, don't be nice the second time.
they
Like
were.
this is a great review. Leave it. Never touch it.
For the record, they were mean on Elephant.
Ugh.
they gave it a 6.9.
Oh my god! What a bunch of morons.
Here's
How stupid are you that you're like, you know what? Let's give this one a 6.9. Like, get out of here. It just like that's why I hate music criticism from Pitchfork sometimes, because it's so cruel just to be a dick. It's
Yeah.
like you're the dickhead working in a record store that's going to tell you everything in your pile sucks, and you're going to walk out of there going, "Well, I'm never coming back there." So, wait, was that autobiographical?
Shit. Couldn't have been.
Shit.
One other thing I heard, I was reading some articles in prep for this, and Stereo Gum did like a 20th anniversary, in retrospect. And they basically said Jack White wrote in 20 years ago, Jack White wrote an album for nobody. And I'm like, based on the trends, well,
Yeah.
like that's not saying it's a bad thing. It's like maybe he made the album for one person, which was himself, or maybe two, which was Jack and Meg. But like this album, it's kind of it's not as it's a lot more refined than the first album in terms of like structure and kind of themes and the way it's put together. But where music was in 2000 and jumping off that loud, aggressive first album, I don't think a lot of people that were following the band at the time, or that were starting to hitch their wagon to them, were expecting it. But it was the exact album they needed.
Yeah, and remember, they were awash in boy bands and new metal. So it was at that time. I mean, I was playing Limp Bizkit and System and Corn
Oh.
and that, on the radio, and that was the sound. And I still remember when we played Fell in Love with a Girl, it was like, let's just chop everything down. This is something completely new and different. But like when you think about what else was out at that time,
Yeah.
it was cutting edge, or whatever term you want to use.
Sure, absolutely, because it was going against this grain of just I don't know. I feel like you can paint any picture by using the term mainstream, but it's like
Mhm.
at that time, unless you were an indie rock kind of college rock darling, you were, mainstream, and the White Stripes
Mhm.
kind of found their way in between all of it, and then
Yep.
one became the other, and it's
Yeah.
a special time. Let's go to the live. What shocks me about this song is its live performance history. The White Stripes only performed it 7 times. I'm gonna bring the vibes down for a second. It was first performed on January 14th, 2000 at the Magic Stick in Detroit, their home base. January 14th, 2000 was the day my parents told my sister and I they were splitting up. So
Oh.
anytime I see January 14th, 2000, it's just like everything's, we're all great, but in the moment it is a
A
traumatic.
record scratch.
Oh,
I've been there, man. When my parents, I still remember being sat down, and it was in August. I don't remember the date,
yeah.
and you're just like, what?
2 Christmases, but wait, we're gonna have to live in an apartment now? How does that work?
Yeah. Wait, you mean we're gonna have to move? What?
Yeah, it's oh god, yeah. Just
I don't want to go over every other weekend.
again preaching to the
I want to
choir.
see my friends. Okay, this is turning into a different podcast where it's becoming therapy.
I just had a fun little moment where I'm like, okay, at this point in the universe, I'm having the most traumatic moment a 12-year-old can have. And on the other side of the continent, they're playing this song live for the first time in a band that, like, in a few years, 2 years later, I would become just infatuated with. It feels, those 2 moments feel a million years apart, but it's it's only 2 years. Kind of blew my mind this morning.
And that is, but it's funny how that means you've evolved.
I'll take it.
Yeah, that's what I think.
They played it 5 times in 2000. The last time they played it was in 2005 in Manchester at the Carling Apollo. Did you see the live video I sent you of them performing it? It'll be on the Hardest Pod's Instagram. I fucking loved it. I'd not heard an electric version of this song until last night, the night before. Blew me away. I fucking loved it. Tell me your thoughts.
That's where you see a band that doesn't give a shit about what anybody else thinks of them. They have their own path. They're confident enough to be who they are, and they're comfortable in their own skin. And you're watching like a really dynamic performer. It's just like it's the fairy dust thing that I use all the time. Fairy dust. It's just something magical happening.
They're playing probably in front of maybe 50 people. They're playing at a bar in Milwaukee, which for us as British Columbians has a hilarious name. They're playing at the Cactus Club in Milwaukee. Premium. Oh fuck, what's it called? Premium casual premium or something?
No, premium casual. Isn't it fast casual?
One of those.
Some dumb corpse speak. I love that place, but don't. Anyways, whatever.
For the Americans,
I need my blood sugar's dropping. I need to go.
Hey, there's a Cactus Club right next door.
I know.
For the Americans in the international audience, the Cactus Club is a chain of slightly higher end restaurants that there is no comparable version to change in the United States. It is.
They just opened one in Boston.
That is true, and
they took the chicken fajitas off the menu, and now they're dead to me.
Fucking pieces of shit. Very wild place. We are very accustomed to it in Western Canada. It is a mind bender. I had some friends from Denver come up, and I'm like, I'll take you to the Cactus Club because it needed a menu that had gluten-friendly options, which they have. And they were like, this is the greatest place I've ever been to. I'm like, it's the same as in Kamloops as it is here.
Yeah. We've got mountains and ocean here too. Hey, bud.
But back to that Cactus Club. The fairy dust is there because like they're playing in front of 50 people, and you're like, they're playing a song, an alternate version. I can't feel it. I don't think that they've played that song that many times in general, let alone live at that point. And it just feels completely different, just as special and just as powerful. And that special little fairy dust is all over it.
Yeah. They're coming into their own, Ryan. Like, that's the thing about this band, is that they were constantly evolving.
Yes.
And I like that Jack and Meg, as the White Stripes, they were always looking forward. I never got the, well, let's try and do like what we did on the last album. It was always, something different. And I think that that's worth embracing, because so many artists look back, and they
Yes.
were always, and Jack still looks forward a lot. And I think that performance that you saw, could you imagine, you're starting to get all that press, people in the UK are digging you, you're playing these tiny clubs, you're just about to hit that springboard of moving into theaters or arenas or whatever, which weren't far behind, or whatever venues they wanted to play, and they did it on their terms, and that performance is awesome.
Yes. And you brought up a very good point that they were always looking forward. There was an evolution for the band, and this isn't an Icky Thump song, but the second that they said this is a bit of a return to form, you're like, oh, I gotcha. All right. And it's the tough, bittersweet reality of this band, because I remember in our first conversation, you shouted from the rooftops what an artist Jack White is, and that same could be said to the same is said about Jack and Meg collectively. And art is always about evolving. It's never about replicating. One thing that's interesting about this song is it has found its way into the solo set list as Jack White as a solo artist. He's performed it 5 times live. He first played it in October of 2012 on his first solo tour in Columbus. And then he last played it in February of last year in the Netherlands at a venue that my dad or late Oma and Opa, who are Dutch, could pronounce. I can't, and I won't try. But what stuck with, I just had a curious little inkling last night or the night before when I wrote these, and I said, he's playing a song off the Stijl in the Netherlands. Huh. So I click
That's
on,
an inside joke for sure.
I go and click. He played 2 nights in Holland, February 25th and 26th. The second show, he played 6 songs off the Stijl in Holland. He
Wow.
played half the album to
That's
those
awesome.
damn Dutch. And I'm like,
Those Dutchies.
so it cracked me up. I love that he'd done that. And then I went on a bit of a wormhole, and I'm looking through Jack's. He had never done this. There was maybe Hello Operator, but it almost felt like it was removed from any Dutch gigs he played. But at the one about a year ago from now, or a year ago in 2025, he damn near played half the album of De Stijl, and that's, if I might have to dust off a credit card to get a Nugs account so I can hear that one, because that's a
I
show
was
I'd
just
love
gonna
to.
say, that is a good investment, in nugs.net account,
Oh, absolutely.
because it's high res and it's stupid good. It's like all the Jack stuff, and for me, the Dead, and
I can imagine.
Black Crows, and there's lots of really great. Anyways, this is brought to you by nugs.net.
Promo code hardest pod to pod.
Use promo code thirdman. Okay, sorry.
Jason, as we wind down here, I like to ask the same question to all our guests, which is, the next time you hear this song, after talking about it for over 45 minutes, what's gonna rattle around in that noggin of yours? What's gonna stand out when you hear it again?
The lyrics, because I'm going to listen to it in a different way after we discussed it, and I'm going to listen to it. I like to listen to music in my truck.
Yeah.
My SUV.
Best play,
because
the car, the vehicle, it's the best place in the world to do 2 things. 1, eat food, and listen to music.
It is both. Like, okay, so here's a Jack White nugget for you that I did ask him. when he mixes his records,
Yeah.
he listens to it in his vehicle.
Yeah, they did that for the 2019 Raconteurs
Yeah.
album, and I saw that
Yeah.
video. I'm like, oh, that's so awesome.
I'm like, I hate you, but it's like, but in all seriousness, Dave Grohl does the same thing, because I always have a different listening experience, and I love listening to like the Nug stuff
Yeah,
in my truck, because
totally.
I there's no interruptions. I can eat my Frosty and JBC in peace, and right. I take Gaston, one of my French bulldogs. We do the drive-through every Sunday. Seat warmers on, and we listen to Nugs.
Okay, that was Jason. I'm Ryan. Ryan and Jason. You know how this dog and pony show works. Great conversation. I really like Jason. Saw him, like I said, we ran into him at the Jack White show at the Commodore. Just a lovely soul, and a fun guy to speak to about music and the White Stripes and things that we love. Thanks again to our dear friend of the show, Keith, for the signed copy of the Jack White Collected Lyrics and Selected Writings Volume 1. I messaged my dad, who is a big Elvis head and really wants an Elvis autograph. I'm like, well, I won. I got the Jack White autograph before you got the Elvis autograph. He goes, I didn't know it was a race, and I'm like, neither did I. We'll be back next week, because the hardest podcast to podcast is hosted and produced by me, Ryan Schaap. Artwork by Catlin Likely. Still eating the Hawkins Cheesies is our assistant editorial producer, Amanda Schultz, and Mike Noble is our Gato.